Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Magdalena Barrañon Moe, and my friends call me Maggie Moe.
Okay, all right. And you are running for city council to represent District 1. What made you decide to run?
I'm running because I believe we live in a beautiful. I'm running because we live in a beautiful city of diverse population, and I believe strongly in equal and fair representation on our city council.
Okay, all right, that's good. We were just talking about you had 67% of your supporters are women, 83% are Democrats. Um, you have a lot of support from government employees and business owners and 17% construction workers. And ethnically, you have support from across the spectrum. 40% Hispanic immigrants, 20% are Zapotecs, and 20% are German. What I do on the polls is that I give them a wider range of options to choose from. Um, we are currently predicting at this time a low turnout in District 1. Historically, that's been an issue with this part of Whittier. As a candidate, if you're elected, how would you address that issue?
I think the number one problem that we have is that we do not engage our community to go out and vote. So I think it's very important to engage the community. District 1 is 85% Spanish surname. So our job as of people that live in a Democratic Party, we need to engage our community so that they will come out and vote. That's what we need to do. We need to encourage them, and we need to let them know that District 1 is the most neglected district in the whole city of Whittier. Therefore, it is important for people to go out and vote so that we can have representation and we could have our streets cleaned. We can have lighting that we so need. Lighting is such an important issue. It's become a public safety issue. Our sidewalks and our streets need to be repaired, and our trees must be maintained.
Now, those were issues that I had tried to bring up when I was running, as far back as the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that during all this time, you would think somebody would address that, and it still seems like the city's still ignoring this area of Whittier. Specifically, down there by 5 Points between Santa Fe Springs Road and Painter. Historically, not a single person on the city council has ever come from that part of Whittier. And when they did the districts, there was so much hope for it. And I know that the Latino Coalition, for example, had an idea for 5 districts instead of 4 districts. I don't know, maybe the 5 districts would have been better, but it just seems like even today with the districts, it's still being ignored. It's like, well, we're going to divide it up between Uptown and East Whittier. That way, we're not going to let them have a seat at the table because we're afraid of that. I mean, how would you address that?
Well, I believe that we have had no representation because we were only able to vote in at-large elections, and it was proven that we could not get a Hispanic person or any other person because we have been suppressed for so many years. So now that we're able, in 2014 or 2015, 4 Latinos sued the city of Whittier so that we could vote in districts. And since then, we have been successful in getting Josue elected in District 1 in 2016, and we've been able to get somebody elected in 2000, or we've seen somebody else get elected in 2018, and that's Henry Bouchot. But the most important thing here is that it is important that we have representation on our city council, and I am a testament to that if I get elected, it is because we are able to vote in districts, and I would be probably the first Hispanic representative to represent District 1, which is 85% Spanish surname. But the most important that I want you to know is that I represent the entire district, and I represent the entire city of Whittier. I do not have any barriers as to color or anything like that. I believe in fair and equal representation, and I love my community. I have lived in the city of Whittier my entire life.
Okay, all right. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
Okay. On that, there's been some divisiveness over some of the issues such as homelessness. You see council meetings, people are attacking each other online. It gets pretty vicious. There's a lot of animosity, a lot of vindictiveness that's been increasing. People, a lot of name calling's been going up. How would you go about addressing that issue?
I understand the residents. I'm a resident in District 1. I understand how the residents feel. I have had 2 incidences where people have, where I had a lady who had a mental issue problem and she was homeless try to break into my house. And then I had another incident where I had another person who was drug addicted and homeless, and she tried to break into the house, and I was there by myself, and I called 911. It took them 2 hours for them to come to help me. I was so scared. And I think that this is a big issue. I believe that we've had a homeless problem, and it was not really noticed until we saw it at Parnell Park. And all of a sudden, I understand why, because I lived in East Whittier for 30 years. And I know, I lived in that neighborhood for 30 years, so I know how the residents are, and they're not going to tolerate having somebody take over their parks. Parks are for children and for families. They are not for people to live in. It becomes a health issue when we're finding drug paraphernalia in our parks, in the dryers, in the bathrooms. It is a problem. I believe, in my opinion, I believe that the people that live in Parnell Park, they're from that neighborhood, and I know that because I lived over there for 30 years. And a lot of the homeless population used to live on the railroad trail, on the railroad section, and there was
now the Greenway Trail.
And they had a bunch of it's not completed yet. They had a bunch of bushes, and they were actually living inside the bushes. The problem that exists is that when people have mental illness and they have drug addiction, they do things, they become predators for the entire community. And so, of course, people are upset. I'm upset when somebody tries to break into my house. And that is a reason why we need resources. The city of Whittier does not have resources. We cannot continue. I understand how people feel, but we cannot continue to ignore the problem. The problem is getting worse. The people that were at Parnell Park are no longer at Parnell Park. Now they're on the Greenway Trail. The Greenway Trail is for people and families to be able to enjoy. It's not a place where people should live. So because of the Boise law, we need to get beds, and we need facilities for mental health and for people that have drug addictions. We have a big problem in our society, and it's called drug addiction. And we have a lot of people that have mental illness, and they need help. So we need to address those issues in order for us to be proactive and cleaning up our neighborhood. That's what we need to do. We need to help people get off the streets and not be in our Greenway trails, not be in our parks, not be on our sidewalks. It's not good for business. It's not good for residences. It's a health problem, and we need to do something about it.
Okay, all right. I want to do some stats. 64% of your constituents give the current city council negative ratings on dealing with the homeless. They say that the council is currently doing a bad job with handling the issue. Of those, 56% support building a shelter here in Whittier if it has wraparound services. Now, I have a question about that, because we had a similar problem back in the 90s, and the city got together with the community groups, and that's how First Day came along, because we found state funding for that. And we had other services for the homeless. But in 2008, we had the recession, and the state cut off a lot of programs, and some of the programs they cut that came to Whittier, it was mostly the services to homeless that were impacted. So if we do this with the wraparound services, the shelter, wherever we decide to build it, what would you do to make sure that it is financially insulated from future impacts of, say, another recession or the state having to cut its budget?
Well, I believe in partnering with the county and the state. And as you know, there was a lot of money that was given to Los Angeles County to resolve or to help with the homeless problem. So I don't believe in taxing people. I think that we are taxed out, and so that cannot happen anymore. But I believe that we need to start somewhere. I can't think of, the only thing that I can think of is that we can write grants. There are grant writers. There are organizations that will help, and we can have grant writers to get money. So we need to think of innovative ways. I think grant writing is the best way to be able to get money. I belong to the Whittier Regional Symphony, and we have grant writers to be able to fund the symphony. As you know, the symphony is free to the public. So those are the type of things that we need to do. We need to be innovative, and we need to think outside of the box. But I do not believe in taxing our community.
Okay. That leads me into the next question, because we actually asked them about Measure W. And let's see, I have it on here. Measure W. 40% of your constituents are undecided currently, 31% are opposed, and 29% are in favor of Measure W. So what would you say to those who are undecided about it? They haven't made up their minds.
I think that people need to do their research. I think that we need to look at, what the city had in its coffers. They had $10 million, and I would like to know what happened to the money. They are spending the money in frivolous lawsuits.
I think that's them.
And for example, the city right now is building a $15 million